We all have it. It's the very essence of life, right? It's constantly moving just underneath our skin. But have you ever stopped to think about what's really in your blood beyond just being red? Let's take a look. So, yeah, that's the big question for today. It's flowing through you right now, this very second. But what is it made of? We're going to dive in and break this vital fluid down to see what makes it one of the most incredible systems in the entire human body. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What even is blood? The official definition is a liquid connective tissue. I know, that sounds a little weird because we usually think of tissue as something solid, but think about it this way. Its whole job is to connect your entire body. It's like a massive internal superhighway, a transportation system for everything. And if you look at its basic composition, blood is pretty much a 50-50 split. A little over half, about 55%, is a yellowish liquid called plasma. That's our highway. The other 45%, that's made up of all the cellular elements. You can think of them as the vehicles, the workers, and the soldiers traveling on that highway. And here they are. This is that 45%, the team in all its glory. These guys are the stars of the show today. You've got your red blood cells, all the different white blood cells, and the platelets. Each and every one has a super distinct, super important job. So let's meet them one by one. First up, we've got the most famous and, by far, the most numerous cells in our blood. These are the red blood cells, our body's tireless little oxygen couriers. Their fancy name is erythrocytes, and their whole mission is actually pretty simple. They pick up oxygen in your lungs, and then they deliver it to every single tissue in your body. And the special tool they use to do this is a protein called hemoglobin. It literally grabs onto oxygen molecules for the ride. And the number of these things, it's just mind-boggling. Get this. In a tiny drop of blood, about the size of a pinhead, there are around 5 million red blood cells. That's just how serious your body is about getting oxygen everywhere it needs to go. Now, what's really cool is how perfectly designed these cells are. That biconcave shape, kind of like a donut that hasn't been fully punched out, gives them way more surface area to grab oxygen. It also makes them super flexible so they can squeeze through the tiniest little blood vessels. And check this out, they don't even have a nucleus. That leaves more room for all that hemoglobin. They live for about 120 days, which means your bone marrow is just constantly churning out millions of new ones every single second. It's a non-stop factory. All right, next up on the team, let's talk about the body's defense force, the white blood cells. So if red blood cells are the delivery drivers, then white blood cells, or leukocytes, are the military. They are your immune system's frontline soldiers. They're the patrol officers, the special ops units, all working together to protect you from invaders like bacteria and viruses. And just like any good army, you've got different kinds of soldiers for different jobs. The most common ones by far are the neutrophils, making up almost 70% of the force. They're the first responders, the infantry that just rushes to the site of an infection. Then you've got lymphocytes, which are crucial for more targeted, specialized immunity, and a few others doing their own important jobs. Now, scientists group these cells based on how they look under a microscope. You have granulocytes, which look kind of grainy. That's because they're literally packed with tiny chemical weapons to fight off bad guys. Then you have the agranulocytes, like lymphocytes, which look much smoother. And that simple visual difference tells you they have very different roles in your immune system. And you can really see the diversity of this army right here. I mean, on one hand, you've got the monocyte, which is the largest white blood cell. It can actually morph into something called a macrophage and literally eat invaders. And then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the much smaller lymphocyte, which is a specialist that produces antibodies and remembers past infections so you don't get sick from the same thing twice. So, we've covered oxygen delivery and we've covered defense. But what happens when there's damage? What about repairs? Well, for that, we turn to the emergency repair crew, the platelets. Okay, so platelets, also called thrombocytes, aren't even really complete cells. They're just these tiny little fragments. But don't let their size fool you, their job is absolutely critical. The second you get a cut, these little guys rush to the scene, they get all sticky, and they start clumping together to form a plug. This is the very first step in forming a clot to stop you from bleeding. And just like our other cells, there are a ton of them, up to 450,000 in that same tiny pinhead-sized drop of blood. They're just always circulating, always on call, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. So we have all these amazing cells, right? But what are they traveling in? That brings us to our final component, the liquid highway itself, plasma. The easiest way to think about it is with this simple formula. Plasma is just everything in your blood that isn't a cell. It's this yellowish fluid that makes up more than half of your blood's volume, and it's what allows everything else to flow smoothly. Now, if you look at what's in plasma, it's mostly water, like over 90%. That's what makes it such a great carrier fluid. But that smaller slice, that's 7 to 8% of plasma proteins, is incredibly important. You've got proteins in there for maintaining blood pressure, for immune function, and, get this, for clotting. And that last little bit is a mix of all the other stuff being transported: nutrients, hormones, electrolytes, and waste products. It's the whole shebang.
Okay, so we've met all the individual players. Let's zoom out now and look at the big picture. Let's put it all together and see what this incredible team actually accomplishes every day.
When you boil it all down, it comes down to these three core functions. First, transportation. That's carrying oxygen, food, hormones, and hauling away waste. Second is regulation. Blood helps keep your body temperature and your pH level stable. And third, of course, is protection, using those white blood cells to fight infections and the platelets to seal up any injuries. And this quote just nails it, right? It really is all about transportation. Every single cell we've talked about, the oxygen couriers, the immune soldiers, the repair crews, they all rely on this incredible internal highway system to do their jobs. It's how every part of your body gets exactly what it needs, right when it needs it. It is truly incredible when you think about it. Every single second, trillions, with a T, trillions of these unseen heroes are at work, performing all these complex jobs, and you don't even have to think about it. It really makes you wonder, if all of this is happening in just a few drops of blood, what other amazing secrets is your body keeping?